Horizon. All right. Good evening. My name is Tracy Schultz, and I am the chair of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Reconstruction Advisory Group. I am opening the meeting of the advisory group, hereby call the meeting order at 6:00 p.m. We are holding this meeting in person at the MDTA Police Building at the Bay Bridge. Attendees should note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on BRAG webpage after the meeting for attendees to view and download. Attendees should also note that the recording will include the audio and video from this evening's meeting. Presentations will be available to download from the BRAG webpage. I would ask anyone in the room with us this evening, please refrain from speaking unless you are presenting or answering questions so that background noise is minimized for those viewing remotely. Members of the public who registered to comment on specific agenda items, I'll provide you with an opportunity to comment after the agenda item is presented. We appreciate everyone's patience and ask that you hold any comments until the designated time. We ask that you please introduce yourself by giving us your name and community you represent before moving on with your question or comment. Members of the public joining us via Microsoft Teams will be able to view the meetings only. For security reasons, the chat function in Microsoft Teams is not enabled for MDTA personnel. Any posts entered in the chat window are not visible to staff and will not be responded to. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded in its entirety. Ready for the record, all members are present except for
Donald Schlotz and Pat Lynch. Mr. Foster is joining us virtually.
Before I move on to our first agenda item, there is a member update. I would like to welcome Mr. David Gable to the BRAG. Mr. Gable was appointed by Queen Anne County to replace Steve Wilson, who I want to thank for his many years of dedicated service to the BRAG. I extend a warm welcome to Mr. Gable on behalf of BRAG, and I'll turn the floor to him for an introduction.
Yes, again, my name is Dave Gable. I live in the Queenstown area. I travel the Route 50 and 97 corridor just about every day, 5 to 6 days a week. I've been doing that for 21 years. I feel I can add something to the committee as I drive the roads every day and see a lot of things that sometimes can be improved. I have also in the past had many phone conversations with some of the members through the MTA and Jim and a few other people over the years, and gotten some pretty good responses, and I think I can add something to the committee.
Very good. What we normally do, we'll go around, because you don't know all of us, some of us. So we'll go around and start with Mr. Arthur, and we'll introduce ourselves and where you live at, so you can get you an opportunity to see who we are.
Gotcha.
Feel for us.
Okay, welcome, David Arthur. I'm based out of Annapolis, Maryland.
Nick Diotis, Queenstown, your neighbor.
Yes.
Tracy Schultz from Cat Island.
Jack Broderick, Cat Island.
Carrie Seuss with the State Highway Administration.
Bruce Garner, Executive Director of the Transportation Authority.
Lynn Barrow from the Secretary's Office.
Oh, Jim.
Queenstown. Yeah. He's not.
Pete Bradley, Broadnight Council of Communities, Anne Arundel County.
Pat Lynch, Broadnight Council of Communities and Bay Bridge. And Growth Action Network of Everett County.
We have Mr. Foster.
Yeah, Mr. Foster can speak.
Yep. John Foster. I apologize for not being there in person, but I live in Arnold, Maryland.
Great.
You're still with us, though. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Our first agenda item is review of the minutes of the previous meeting held in April. We actually have one correction on page 4 of 6 at the top.
Yeah, one minor correction, but pretty important, very top line. It says, Mr. Broderick appreciated opening on ramp, and it should read shipping or shopping center road instead of Castle Marina Road. Should read shopping center road, and then the rest of it is okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any changes to the minutes? Get a motion to approve them with an exception to change. So second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, our next item There's a requirement of House Bill 56, which is a report on the group's activities since the last meeting and any recommendations they have based on those activities. As for BRAG duties, they are to provide the MDTA with an independent, citizen-informed perspective of the authority's operations at Bay Bridge, assess potential concerns about activity at the Bay Bridge, educate the public about activity related to the Bay Bridge, and work with the MDTA to provide pertinent input related to traffic and customer service issues. Would any members like to share their individual educational activities and interactions with their communities since the last meeting? Are you gonna start again?
Sure. Unfortunately, I was doing a lot of family and business travel, so I wasn't able to engage as much as I'd like to, so I don't have anything to report.
We went up on the bridge, 2 weeks ago.
19th.
Yeah. You got to see all that, just changed 2 pieces of it. We got to take a lot of photographs and pictures. Show them to people in the community, and then just, you know, remarkable what goes on, and the amount of work and precision so that they put the thing together and open it again in the morning. That was very interesting, and I shared that with a lot of people. The only other thing is, which Melissa got me a response to, a friend of mine recently driven, this is not the Bay Bridge, but he recently driven on with a boat under the Chester River Bridge, going to Chestertown. And he thought it was a terrible disrepair. But it has been inspected recently, and it has been given a satisfactory response that it's safe. So I did relay that to that concerned citizen. And I know some years ago, we had a meeting, one of these meetings, the gentleman described all the work that was going to be done to repair that bridge. And the citizens up there didn't like the fact that they couldn't use it for a couple of months, so they got killed. I don't know if it's going to ever reoccur, that they gotta, you know, keep the bridge. So that's all.
This was done, I guess we got a lot where our limits are. We're to brag, I guess we should maybe to give everybody a feeling of where our territory is. Go for it. Is sort of to 97 to 5301 split maybe-ish. That, so if somebody approaches us, we could direct them to the right, like Nick's person should be directed to the Chestertown.
District 2 office or the State Highway Administration. So I think it was Will Pines who put together that information for
Right.
you on that.
I'm just saying, somebody comes along, should give everybody an idea where if somebody says, hey, you know,
Well, like the lady said,
I have told the county that there's a, you know, red light down there, it's not functional, probably, it's not really our.
I did get the information from Will Fines, explained it to the citizen. And the only reason I brought it up is because I know that at one of these meetings here, I brought up that you're gonna close that bridge and do this and do that, and all of the citizens went crazy. You have to drive all the way to Plumpton to get around. That would happen. That was some years ago. People weren't here when that was first stuff. So if I overstep my bounds.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, when somebody comes to one of us, we can direct them to instead of bringing back in here to be discussed.
Yeah, not necessarily an agenda item, but
Right, right.
we are all serve the community, so feel free if you need us to point you in the right direction, there's no problem.
That's what happened, it was directed to Will and then. Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a couple things. One is another comment on the ramp closures. As we came through the second part of the summer, through Labor Day, and Jim, county commissioners, want to compliment the guys to sticking to your guns. Our guys got beat up terribly in the beginning when the thing was laid out by SHA. Thought it was a terrible idea. Would you have 250 people there? 249 were against it.
Well, and it wasn't SHA's, it was ours.
Oh, I know.
I'm requesting SHA to help us with this, so.
Yeah, that was well done.
Well, I'll tell you that,
A lot of folks had doubts, but it worked. And I just kind of want to echo that.
so the
Thank you.
weekend after we discontinued the ramp closures, emergency services, Director Scott Haas said that the number one call they had that weekend is, why aren't the ramps closed? Really? So I thought that was outstanding.
You know, I had a bunch of people ask me too, so why why didn't it close? Why didn't it stay open or stay closed longer?
Yeah.
So that, I guess that's an issue to be looked at
Well, we're
by
gonna,
us,
another town hall's coming up. Yeah.
with a recommendation. That's great. Another issue continues to be, when is the meeting gonna be about the new bridge, the Bay Crossing? And I know, Melissa, you and I have talked about it, but there is a good deal of interest in that. And what the impact could well be on infrastructure support, you know, coming and going. And I want to say too, I was able to go up at the BRAG invite week and a plus ago, with Nick and Jim on top of the bridge, an amazing process. And it gives us, insight into being able to share that to help to be advocates, which is part of our role here, not just complainers, but advocates on the work that goes on up top there. Pretty impressive. And thank you guys for making that happen. It helps us tell that story. Good.
So I want to piggyback on what Nick just said. Well, first off, you know, it was 2 weeks ago exactly to the day that we went up on the bridge to watch the removal of a section and replacement of a section, and it is eye-opening. I will say that our QAC TV people were crying when I told them, because they really want to get up here and videotape that. So whenever you have an opportunity, they do a great job. You remember when we did the redecking of the westbound bridge, they were out there to take pictures and make a video, and they were more than happy to do it. The company is more than happy to lend them to you to make it happen.
Also videotaping the nights, you might be able to just get them to share it.
Well, like I said, they've made the offer. I will say that, our next commissioner meeting, the CTP tour is coming. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'll be in Utah. But the legislation is going to be spoken of there on the Red X. What's going to take to get this cameras up and take that one nightmare off our plate. Wouldn't you agree?
That's one item on my list.
All right, so I mean, so those, the redecking, I will say it's been 2 weeks and we haven't swapped out a panel. So I was wondering if there was something else or just the weather's got you guys just like it gets me.
About later, but it's weather.
Yeah. Oh, there he is over there. Okay, good. Yeah. All right, well, that's all I had on that.
So is the cameras gonna be an issue there? Or I should say, gonna be a fix or a attempted fix for those lanes eventually? Is that what they're working on?
If we can get the legislation passed and get it all ironed out.
We're talking about red light cameras or?
Yes.
Cameras.
Well, whatever kind, I don't know what kind of, cameras you're talking about, but, the issue with the red X is
Different cameras or cameras for daily traffic.
red light cameras.
Red light.
Red X cameras, I guess. Is what it
Yeah,
is.
you can call them that, yes.
That's a new thing to the whole state.
Yep.
So that's never been instituted before, so that's why that's go through the
Yeah.
process of being a new law and how it's gonna be put in effect and all that stuff.
Are they saying they're gonna have camera control over the Red X?
That's what they're
You're gonna
trying,
give citations based on camera?
the commissioners are trying to propose that to the legislature.
So what kind of time frame is that based off of as far as actually getting that done?
It's not going to the legislature, got killed last year.
So is that gonna be a year?
Legislation in January, ends in April. So, and then it gets signed, makes it that far sometime in the summer, and
Mhm.
we saw the logistics of it. Somebody's got to design it, yada, 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 so.
Procurement.
Yeah.
Another question on the red X's, is there a reason that the red X's are not extended back west further to let people know that, hey, this lane is not to be used? I mean, I know what people know what it means though, but it seems like it's only one or two red X's at the most. Can they extend those red X's further west?
It'll just now, or?
I don't think it's gonna get changed, it won't change, I mean,
Yeah, we can talk about that later if you want.
with Norwich.
Richard, where we can talk about that. I can talk about that later. Okay.
All right, a couple other things. Just for the note, on the eastbound side of the bridge, just as you go over the bridge, right-hand lane or lane number 2, there is a major pothole that is developing on a regular basis there. I'm not in that lane that much though, but when you get stuck in that lane, you will know it though. It's in the right-hand lane, just as you go over as you complete the bridge decking and go into the asphalt work.
Canal side.
Canal inside, yeah, it's in the right-hand lane. It's getting kind of big. I don't know if you've noticed it.
He's saying it's on land.
So that's one thing that needs to be looked at, because it is getting larger though.
It's on land by Libby's.
Yeah,
It's on land, yes, it's after you finish the decking on the bridge.
I'll look for
Yeah.
it.
So one other suggestion that I have as a commuter or motorist for 21 years, and of course, since the new gates have been installed, that has absolutely improved things a good bit. But there's one problem area that I see that constantly happens almost every day. And that's when motorists are in the lane one or the lane that's going to go over into contraflow. There's people making a decision at the last minute to cut back over into lane 2 and 3, and it's caused a lot of issues. Is there any way that some kind of traffic, I don't know what you call them, but I think they're delineators or whatever? Is there anything, something like that could be done to help that situation out and extend them further prior to getting to that lane? I know there's solid lanes, but people don't pay attention to that either. That's just one of my suggestions.
You go. Talk about everything.
Yeah.
I think you'll still have that situation.
They'll knock them over anyway, right? They'll drive over top of
You
them.
know, wherever it starts, people are gonna come up at the last minute.
Yeah, I do understand that. Whatever you do, it's just like the red X's. You extend them further and they still run them down. But again, that's one of the things that
well, to that point, you know, we could also add signs, you know, where the red X's are, that says contraflow lane. Maybe there's people that don't realize what that lane is. So they come
It
down
could
there
be.
at the last minute, they go, I'm not going head to head on a.
It's every day that happens.
Yeah,
I'm sure you
no,
see it.
Yeah, I see it plenty too, but you know, that could be something where they don't want to be in that lane. They might be coming down that left-hand side to get ahead of traffic, but some of them just don't realize what that lane is. And maybe to say contraflow lane to that, I don't know, that's just food for thought.
It's
Yeah.
a suggestion. And then one other curiosity question. Unfortunately, I did not do the bridge tour a couple weeks ago, but what's going to happen is there going to be surfacing done on top of the new decks?
Explain that.
On the new bridge, the new decks?
They can handle that.
Okay,
Yeah.
You're feeling the temporaries.
okay, that's-
Yes, they're gonna be filled in. It's gonna be all milled and be flat.
okay. That's all I have right now.
One thing, the bridge, picture news, most highways, like the fast lane 1, the lanes 2, and the slow lanes 3, on the Bay Bridge. To the north is lane 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5.
That's not a standard from left or like we read from left to right?
Not for the
1,
Bay
2,
Bridge.
3?
No, that's different.
I didn't know that.
Sometimes why.
Unique.
It goes from north to south,
2, 3, 4, 5.
just for future reference.
Yes.
Yeah, the committee knows what. Because it's different than most highways, but it's,
So eastbound is the 4th and 5th line, 4th and 5th line.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's down 4 and 5.
Yeah.
okay, great.
It's like backwards of the highway.
Thanks.
We like being there.
Yes.
Everybody else has our.
Okay, the only issue we had with the lane closures this summer was one Saturday, Waze evidently didn't have it as closed. And the South Service Road was bumper to bumper from exit 30 to exit 32 in both directions. It was unbelievable. Nobody could get any place.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do about that if they don't pick it up, you know. You guys notified them, correct?
We do notify them, and then it was just how they marked it, so, they gave me an explanation today. It gets very complicated with Waze, so they can mark it as closed and it shows as closed, or if it's a timed closure, like sometimes a regular intersection may prohibit left turns, you know, from 3 PM to 6 PM. Waze picks that up and won't route people that way, but it's not shown as closed. So they weren't routing people that way, but it wasn't shown as closed.
Right.
So I think a lot of people second guessed it and still went that way.
Yep.
So, but yes, we have communicated with Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze to try and rectify that.
Okay, it was pretty terrible.
I have a few. First of all, I want to thank Terry Seuss for speaking at the Broadneck Council meeting last week. She did a really nice job. I didn't even recognize her. You look so different looking down at me than you do across the hall. I think that's Terry. So, she was challenged because she was obviously of this organization, but everyone who had any questions or problems with anything to do with Bay Bridge wanted to ask her. So she has a whole long list that she had probably get back to me on, and we'll be working together to get those questions answered.
Yeah.
Thank you again from all of us. Next, this is just a minor issue, but I can at least provide an answer. Who is responsible for cutting the grass that is by between the service roads and Route 50? Because the people up around Skidmore have asked me to ask you to please get the grass cut. And I thought it was a Anne County issue. I thought somebody told me that in the past. Who is responsible for keeping the
That would
grass?
be the state highway administration.
It is the-
SHA, yes. I'll take
Add that to the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Some concerns, some major concerns, about the process that we all have invoked to replace the longstanding members of this board. I call it a board, it's more than a group. We're very devoted to you all. And if I have to pick one meeting a month that I don't want to miss, it's this meeting. It's a dedication. And I was very sad, and I talked to Tracy about this, about saying goodbye to Barbara Hitchings, because she didn't know this was gonna happen. And at that meeting, last meeting or 2 meetings ago, when, we kind of looked at her and said, well, thanks, but goodbye. I think we need to spend some time. I'll be glad to work with Tracy on it, and maybe Terry could work on it with us. But there has to be something that allows some of us to endure. I know Nick is supposed to go off this board July.
Yeah,
There's some people who you can't replace, and they're gonna be, when I say better, they're gonna be more dedicated, more in tune with the ongoing issues of the BRAG than some new person. I've seen people come in, they've been new players, and they never come back, or they might come back for 1 or 2. But most of us are here and wouldn't miss a meeting. I really am very disappointed with the new structure on filling the numbers of our board. So I hope that members of state highways and all of you will think about a better way than what we're doing it now.
think
Do you
it's,
want to wait till we get to the item on the agenda or you want to do it now?
wait, till you're.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, wait for that.
You want to wait?
Yes, I'm.
Mr. Chair, okay, all right, we'll wait. We get to the action.
Next, when I talked to Melissa, my friend, over here, about this, and it's something I know we've all thought about. But when the accident occurred on the Baltimore Bridge, my first thought was, oh my God, what do we have to protect our vertical structures, support structures for the Bay Bridge? I know you will, there's nobody in this room who hasn't thought about that. I don't know if it's on the agenda, if you intend to speak to it, but it's certainly something that, I've read in the paper that people responsible for the safety on the Bay Bridge are looking at issues that are related to what we could endure if we ever had a carrier vessel strike our structures. So I think that's something that we would like to hear what's being, because the Sun reported that you are now looking more seriously at protective measures for our vertical structures. And if that's the case, I'd love to see it on the agenda. You mentioned the Bay Bridge span. Oh, and the last one is, I had to go to my granddaughter's wedding, which I really was saying, should I go to her wedding or should I be on this Bay Bridge tour at 8:30 at night? And then I picked the wedding. The person who makes the decision to schedule another one is because you missed it, and I know other ones, because it was changed at the last minute. I'll bring whoever made that decision at Chick-fil-A. I'd love to do it. Okay. Thank you.
All right, that it? Mr. Foster?
Yeah,
Foster,
Mayor,
you have-
no, I have nothing. I think everything that was discussed, I would bring up, so I appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Chair, one thing I'd like to comment, and I know I'm not official with, sharing what we've, talked about, but I just did want to mention that, Jim Harkness and I did a tour that was sponsored by a national group, that brought a bunch of congressional staff, out to, see the bridge from the water. So they got a presentation from the contractors, about the process for the redecking, and we had about more than 50 staff, congressional staff. So they didn't get as good a view as you did on the bridge deck. A couple of them, I had pictures on my phone, saw it, that were standing next to me, got that treatment. But I did say they were pretty impressed with just the process that was described by the contractors to do that. So they have an appreciation for that. So that's congressional staff from all over representing the entire country that was out there looking at that today with a national association that Cook Hissing and McLean are part of it. So
Next question is national.
Was it Maryland's delegates?
no, it was congressional staff.
Okay, good.
Yeah, some of our own members of Congress had their staff there too.
You need a little money for all
We had that discussion.
of them.
I pulled the appropriator aside.
Very good. All right, anything else, anybody else? Our next agenda item are updates on current projects from MDTA Chief Engineer Jim Harkness and MDOT SHA Deputy Administrator Chief Engineer Bob Wilson. There's.
There, you want the person?
I can because my updates are pretty simple, I think. So we, at the July meeting, we gave an overview of the ramp management we were doing on the Anne Arundel County side and the Queen Anne's County side. We did end that season over the Labor Day weekend. We've done some very preliminary analysis on the Queen Anne's County side. What we know is that there's a little bit more traffic this year, 2024 versus 2023, but the delays on US 50 are actually reduced by a few minutes. Since we looked at that over the whole summer, we think that's, it's a pretty good measure because we had so many data points for that. It's only a few minutes, but we think that helps, to the success of the ramp management is that it also keeps traffic on US 50 moving just a little bit better. And then we know that Maryland 18 is obviously more open for traffic. It doesn't get as jammed when we do that ramp management. People aren't diverting off of 50. However, we also know that if you live on Maryland 8, you might not like it as much. And the ramp management that we're trying to implement on both sides, really a little bit more art than science, I would say. So really looking for feedback from this group and Jim, I'm excited. We're gonna have another town hall meeting to get feedback. And I think that's very interesting that the first call that you got was, why aren't the ramps closed? So we'll be taking the time between now and then our next BRAG meeting to dive a little deeper into the analysis. We'll look at the times that we're implementing this on both sides of the bridge. And then we have to look at the costs to the State Highway Administration and if we can implement something that's a little less labor intensive because we do have people manning those closures. So if we can implement something that's a little more self-sustaining, I'll say, I think it would be better for everyone, but we know that it's working on the Queen Anne's County side. On the Anne Arundel County side, we've now had 2 summers where we've implemented this throughout the whole summer. 2023 was a little bit more successful for us. And one thing that we think.
Do you measure the success by the speed the traffic's moving on the road, or do you measure the success on keeping the traffic out of the neighborhoods? I mean, probably both, but which?
Both.
Okay.
So, 2023, traffic on US 50 coming eastbound, was a little less delayed. It's like, there's like a minute difference, right, between 2023 travel times and 2024. But we know that the service road service roads seem to be kept more clear in 2023 than they were in 2024. However, comparing it to 2022, we know there were about 600 vehicles per hour on the service roads during the peak times of congestion. And in 2024, that was still limited to about 350. So it is more successful.
Right.
But 2023 was better. So same thing on the Anne Arundel County side. We're gonna dive into the analysis a little bit more. We're gonna look at ways to make it less manpower intensive for us to implement that. And then we are looking at the times that we're closing it. So on the Anne Arundel County side, the first year, we did Thursday through Sunday closures. This past year, we did Friday and Saturday only. And very strong opinions from the community that we need to go back Thursday through Sunday on the animals.
Absolutely, yes.
So we're looking at all of that. We have not made determinations for what we're gonna do next summer. But I think we'll hold a town hall meeting. We'll hold another meeting on the Anne Arundel County side as well and kind of work through that. Yes,
That's a question that you could have asked us at the BRAG meeting.
I think I heard loud and clear.
We would have.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Man, the hour.
It's more than that, but it's just. For this meeting, yes.
Just table of use.
All right. Good evening, Jim Harkness. I'm Chief Engineer for the Maryland Transportation Authority, and so I'll be presenting our list of the projects, the capital projects that we currently have ongoing at the Bay Bridge, and we have them in a couple of different statuses, so either design, procurement, or construction. Start with the first project, BB 3013R, that is our on-fall structural repair miscellaneous modifications project. So again, this is our work order-based contract that we use to address any kind of issues, steel, concrete, could be electrical, could be drainage, any kind of issue we find during our annual inspections out on the bridges, we address it with this contract. We have currently 21 active work orders for the contractor, and the contractor has completed 47 work orders over the life of this contract. This contract is actually just starting to run out, so one of the other contracts we have on here will be replacing this contract, as it is just a cyclical contract mechanism. Our second contract, BB 3012, the Q detection system. So again, this is the project that we are coordinating both with State Highway Administration as well as the University of Maryland. It's to develop a Q detection, Q warning system, travel time system on the approaches to the bridge that could be utilized by our operations personnel as well as contractors in terms of when they're able to close or open lanes. So we have been working to get all of our cameras and radar sites constructed. We had one left. We're finishing that this fall, and that's one camera. All the other sensors are feeding data into the system. It is usable, and we are moving on to a phase 2 of that. The phase 2 is the additional agreement with the University of Maryland's CAT lab to essentially take our data and then start to write some software that will allow us to try to anticipate traffic conditions in the future based on previous data as well as the current data, and try to best guess when we would have to open or when we would be able to close lanes in advance of that. So predicting lane closures. That work would
be set to end by the end of the fiscal year, so by the end of next year, hopefully. Now we'll move on to BB 3017. That is our eastbound deck replacement, phase one, package one. Okay, that's important. So that is the replacement of the deck spans only in what we call T14 to T22. And that's between the suspension span and the through truss span. So that is that section. That's what this package one covers. So all the work included in that is obviously, in addition to new deck panels, it includes upgraded barriers on the root bridge. It is a slight widening as well. We're doing truss strengthening. We have some structural retrofits that we'll be handling under there. We're also replacing the signal gantries in that section with new signal gantries. And we have utility relocations as well as one stormwater management pond that we had to do. So the contractor has replaced one of those gantries. So when you drive eastbound now, you'll see one of the new style gantries that has some curved structural steel on it. So you'll see the curve as opposed to the angular old style gantry. We have all the utility relocation brackets done, and the relocation of the wiring is almost complete, but it's still ongoing. The truss strengthening, that is all but complete. So almost all the way from the east end to the west end at the suspension span. They're doing bearing replacements as they go. So that one is just in advance of panel replacement. Truss strengthening, again, I think I said that was already done. As far as setting panels, we have 41 panels out there. So out of the 156, we're more than 25% complete. As Member Moran mentioned, we have had 2 weeks of weather, so we haven't set panels since we were out there, essentially. But
I'll blame it on you.
Tonight looks promising.
I'm concrete guy is killing me too.
So we're hoping to get 2 panels tonight, and we're actually hoping to do our first of the pours between the new panels. So we have closure pours that we have to do, link slabs they're called. So we'll be hopefully being able to get at least one of those tonight. If things go well, we'll get 2. We may go for 2, and then so they'll start working on those as well as putting in new panels. As you know, we're starting to get into the off-peak periods here, so we're hoping to get additional time on the bridge. So additional time hopefully ends up leading to more panels. So if they've done really well with 2 panels a night, they can move that out. If they get to 3, that'll be great for us. We'll just be able to kind of rip through those as we get these longer windows, despite kind of the offset of the possibility of worse weather. And for casting yard, the work that's going up on close to Baltimore in McLean's yard, we have 92 deck panels cast out of the 156. And of those 92, some of those are installed, right? 41 of those are installed, but we have 85 that have got the barrier on it as well. So first they cast the deck, then they cast the barrier. So we have 85 completed of the panels. So
Jim, where are you casting those?
out like the Curtis Bay area, that's where McLean's yard is. Yeah, McLean is the one of the contractors on the joint venture, so posting and McLean.
Then you put them on a barge and bring them here?
That's right. Barge, yeah. Exactly.
Joe, you and I were talking, we were about the reasoning for the wider barriers on the side. Could you share that again?
Yeah, so, we did widen the deck panel. It is a 4 foot wider than the existing. It is also taller, so then we have taller barriers as well, so that we have a concrete portion of barrier along with a metal rail that goes on top. And that gets us increased crash worthiness. So we have a higher level of crash worthiness on the bridge. And then the widening helps us in terms of a little bit of traffic capacity. We can get a little bit better traffic capacity with a little bit wider. It also gives us a little bit of a higher factor of safety when we're running two-way on that bridge, right? So overnight when we're working on westbound, sometimes we're running eastbound two-way. That'll give us a little bit of extra room there, so you feel a little more comfortable, not as squeezed as you normally do. And then in terms of emergency response. So in the event of emergency response, it was difficult for responders. Wasn't enough room for people to really split. Now with that additional 4 feet, you should be able to, if they pull over well, we should be able to get up the middle and be able to respond through the traffic as opposed to having to come always by opposite way. So thanks. Let's see, I think that's it for that project. So we'll move on to BB 3021. That is the on-call. That's the replacement for the first project we talked about. So that project was approved by the MDTA board in just at the end of September. So we expect to have the notice to proceed in November for that contract to be underway. And it just so happens it's the incumbent for the first contract also had the winning bid for the new contract. So we're going to just keep rolling with the contractor that we have there. We'll keep working on those work orders that they have, and we'll start assigning new ones as well. And then our final project is BB 3004. It's the construction of the, I should have a different title there. It should be this, the maintenance equipment storage building. We had previously redone the scope on that one and eliminated the project management office portion of that. So we are building another maintenance vehicle storage building down here at the end of the road that we come in on here. That's going to just, be able to store operations, trucks, plow equipment, that kind of thing. And it will include we'll just have to, do a little bit of paving. And we're also upgrading the water service on this side of the campus as well for that project. So we are expecting to finalize the design by winter of this year, get into procurement bids by this time next year, and construction to start by the end of 2025. So that was all I had there for the projects themselves. I did have an additional bit of information for us since we're coming to the end of the summer travel season. We've gone over kind of travel patterns. So we just wanted to talk about the travel patterns that we saw this year compared to last year, just for your information. And so go to the next slide. It's hard really to see colors on this, unfortunately. Didn't realize it was so bad there. What we're looking at here is an entire year, January to December. This is our summer period in the middle here. The very dark line, if you can make it out, the one that's here, right in there, that is this year. And then we had last year sort of in here, but we gave a couple of years just to kind of give an idea. This year, this dotted year being 2020, which explains that drop there. But sort of just wanted to plot and kind of see how overall it's all sort of tracking a lot the same there, compared to 18, 19, it's all sort of in that mix. And we're around the 20 or 90,000 a day, just under it. It's really around like 88,000 a day. And I think year over year, we were essentially at the bridge almost exactly what we were last year. So 88,500 for both years. So what's a huge dip this year? Yeah, I didn't look into that, but generally we'll see, something will, I'm not sure what triggered that. I don't remember if we had a weather weekend that's the beginning of August. I'm trying to remember what happened.
We didn't have bad weather.
Yeah.
That's similar to the COVID year too. It's kind of just almost at the same period.
Yeah. I mean, you see like years will have these dips, you know.
Sunday, before me.
Just-
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't look into it unfortunately, but, yeah, we just, that's what happened. Sure, what happened in, it was the 4th of August. So that was, this is, this is for a week. This
I was out of town that week, that's why I really stayed.
It's a weekly average there. So. Okay, next. So then we'll just sort of look over at kind of the Thursday through Sunday patterns. So what we're looking at here, it's sort of yellowish, but that's the total. So that's both directions. Then in the kind of the bluish, that's eastbound, and the sort of what was orange is westbound. And the darker of those two is this year, so 24, the lighter is 23. So for instance, with Thursday in this AM, the morning hour, we had an increase, total increase this year, and you can see that both the eastbound and the westbound had a slight increase there for Thursday mornings. And then as you progress, westbound actually had a slightly less volume. And again, this is an average of every Thursday for that summer period. So 12 Thursdays, this is what happened. So from any one Thursday, it kind of gets averaged out. So, and then again, eastbound in that PM peak was just slightly down. So you can see year over year, we were slightly down for Thursdays. I want to say, in that peak period, it was like a 3% decrease. As a whole for Thursdays, we were actually up 1,000 vehicles a day. So on average, the Thursday, we had an extra 1,000 vehicles a day this year compared to last year. Let's take a look at Friday. Again, Friday, you can see, now this time we had a overall an AM decrease and as well as a midday decrease and a slightly larger one at that. So maybe like a 4% decrease overall there. And you can just kind of see what, this eastbound demand sort of led to that, a lot of that. And all told, we decreased by on average 2,900 vehicles a day. This Friday, on this summer Fridays compared to last. So we had less volume.
Jim, what's the difference in the Thursday volume and the Friday volume? What's the average,
Yep.
the average
So-
number of vehicles on Thursday and the average number of vehicles?
Okay, so we had, that's a good question, thanks. So it was 92,500 on the Thursdays this year, and we had 91,478, so almost 91,500.
Thank you.
So almost 1,000 less on Friday than the Thursday.
On Friday than Thursday.
Yeah, and that's for the whole bridge,
Right,
so that's both directions. But again, so we were less this year than last year. All right, Saturday. So Saturday, guess things, get a little crazy with the demand, managing the two-way. So I didn't mention it earlier, but these bands here are the typical two-way, when two-way would typically be in effect on a Saturday. Again, it varies out here, as we manage this, it's not always gonna hit that mark, so things get a little funny here in terms of, where the volume curves are. So, as you can see, in the morning, we had, over totally, just a small decrease in volumes. Midday, we were slightly above, and then again, in the PM, we sort of fell off total, number there. So year over year, we fell, 2,000 vehicles, a day. This year, we were 2,000 vehicles a day less than we were last year.
Mr. Foster has a question virtually.
Okay.
Are you there, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, I'm here. First of all, Jim, you look great on TV, all the interviews. Keep doing that. That was awesome. Keep doing that. Yeah, so I'm a big data person. I love data, and I'm kind of curious, what is this data telling you? Like, are there decisions that are coming for you that, you think that this group needs to start to think about? I'm just curious. Like, I see the data. I just don't know, what's the next thing? What's the so what behind it?
Right. So I think really, this data is the same data that our operations folks utilize to make decisions. I'm just plotting it for us here. Really, I think the messages that, how, it's just kind of get out how are travel patterns changing, right? And we didn't see a lot of difference maybe this year. Thursday, a slight growth, right? But it's kind of interesting. Thursdays are heavier than Fridays, right? And you always said Fridays are the big day. And so then it's, you start to think about, what does that start to mean in terms of, what is leading to changes in demand? Or, for me, it's what does that impact my work hours, my contractor's work hours? How does that start? If the peak periods start to shift earlier and shift later, that's less time I get on the bridge at night. So that's how some of these things that we look at, when we put out work, we have to tell the contractor, hey, you'll be able to work these periods so that you can understand how to build a bid, put your bid together. When things like this happen and we start to create problems because we told the contractor, hey, you can get out at 9 o'clock, but, travel patterns change and it creates things, then that, has a negative effect on our ability to do work on the bridge, and still, try to minimize impacts to customers.
Is this the data that you're going to use for your detection that you mentioned earlier?
So this data is not used for detection. This data, we take it at a spot right here at the bridge on both sides, so very close to the bridge. The data I mentioned earlier extends miles on the approaches. So we've had these data locations in place for years. So those are just some radar sites that we have on both sides. And then we've added radar Bluetooth on the approaches.
Cool. Thanks.
So I think if there's nothing, I don't know if I mentioned it, we were down 2,000 on Saturdays, year over year. So again, another decrease day there, but then we go to Sundays. There you go. So Sundays, we saw an increase this year. So we were by that same 2,000, we increased by 2,000 vehicles a day this year over last year on Sundays. So you can see that eastbound, pretty much exactly what we had last year. But then the difference came with that westbound demand on Sundays. So yeah, that higher westbound demand, higher volumes on Sundays this year compared to last year. And again, just for some perspective, as kind of Lynn's question earlier, it was Saturdays, we averaged 91,100 vehicles. And again, 91,100 vehicles on Sundays. So Saturdays, Sundays, Fridays, all pretty close, a couple hundred vehicles all. I think that was it.
So all I can say is traffic is moving better, much better this year than it was last year. And, be it the ramp closures, be it the information we're pushing out. I tell everybody, in our commissioners meetings that, look, if you're going to the beach on Saturdays, what we see the biggest problem is eastbound traffic on Saturdays. Normally around 1 o'clock, we'd switch to contraflow. And, people would say, okay, I'm not going to go anywhere till 2 or 3 o'clock to let that traffic die down. And if we could get to that happy medium somewhere in there to say, look, we know that right around 2 o'clock now, it seems, we're switching that contraflow. And it's getting that information out to people and you're right, you got to condition their travel habits. Because like you said, Thursday and Friday, those hours, those counts are up there, but we're not seeing it. And I got to tell you, Jamie is killing it at the bridge. Normally I'd get a call all the time, why aren't we in contraflow? All the rain we've had the last 10 days and, when that little bit stops and he can get that thing open, it just relieves that pressure. So, kudos to you guys. Really, it's, we greatly appreciate that. And on Sundays, I don't know, the data says it's only a couple minutes faster, the traffic, but what we look out for in Queen Anne's County is our constituents. I hate to be selfish that way, but we're trying to keep 18 open so that they can move around. And I check it every Sunday night. I go to Bridges for dinner. So if I can get from Bennett Point Road all the way to Bridges with only having to slow down once, I'm a happy camper. And I gotta tell you, it's working. So, I appreciate everything you guys are doing and trying and, we're there to support you in that endeavor. So, keep up the good work.
At the same time, you're controlling the flow of traffic and it's moving better. But you're getting an increase in traffic too, aren't you? So,
In the volumes?
Over the weekend, it's average.
yeah.
Almost up 2,000 days down to.
Yeah, I mean,
So it kind of disguises the fact that you're moving traffic better, because there's more of it.
so like we saw, like on Thursdays, yes, and Sundays, yes, but on the Friday and Saturday, we were down, right? We had less volume, so.
And I think that's what we see is 12-mile backup.
What's the phase down on Route 50 or back up?
Yeah, well, that's true. But it's still a 12-mile.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is. You're right. You're 100% correct. But like I said, if people can get out and move. I mean, nobody wants to be, on house arrest every Saturday and Sunday. So, that's, so it works.
And it's great,
Appreciate it.
great with it, because he shows up at about 3 or 4, that 12-mile backups, 11 miles. I think it'll happen like 3 times.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And then the public going to the beach, the more they travel, they realize, look at on Sundays, or really on Saturdays, to me, it's on Saturdays, if stay at the beach until noon. Don't leave until noon, because by the time you get to the bridge, it'll be 2:30, and contraflow will be closed, and you'll have 3 lanes going westbound. But some of them get up and they hit right at that bridge at 10, between 10 and 11, and that's when it just gets ugly. So, yeah, we try to push that message out as much as possible.
A lot of the buildings in Ocean City now can have that Airbnb, whatever the hell that is.
Mhm.
That also changes, because you can get that for a couple of days instead of having your rent for a week.
Mhm.
So that also is gonna affect your crowd, right?
All right, well, anything else, Tim?
If that was it, we just said, yes. Oh, sorry.
I have a very basic question, but so many people have asked and I don't know the answer. I grew up in New York City in Queens, and I couldn't be in the city unless I went over a bridge. The bridges all over Manhattan. I know there are different kinds of technologies, there are different geographical design. But why is this bridge the only bridge I know that can be closed multiple times a day, or because we are so adverse to any weather changes that might cause clouds or fog or anything? It seems like I was at a doctor's appointment in Crofton. I think it was last Friday or the Friday before. I came back at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. It took me 2.5 hours to get home to here. Even Annapolis was clogged. And all I could think about is gotta be the bridge. What causes this bridge to be so vulnerable to changes and that wouldn't affect other bridges in other locations? And then that makes me think to the technology you're gonna use on the new span is to what do we need to do to have a stronger bridge or bridge that we have to close because of raining? And I'm exaggerating, obviously, but there's too many closures, so what can we do?
Length of the bridge, bay, winds, the height of the bridge.
Yeah, contraflow. It's different than.
Lane layout.
The thunderstorm, you get to the top of the bridge, you're in the thunderstorm. It's not above you.
That's
I
correct.
can't,
When you get to the top of the span, you're in a thunderstorm. You're not below it anymore.
right.
And that, if you ever had that happen to you, it's happened to me before several times. It is a little frightening. You don't want to be there. The whole bridge, and the bridge is going like this.
I know, well, what can we do to strengthen? I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I may be.
It's only what they can do, Pat.
But it just.
Compared to the New York bridge, what they're saying, this one's higher.
Yeah.
This one's longer, there's more water underneath of it, so the temperature of the water, the temperature of the air all makes fog, and it's a whole lot different than New York's got shorter spans and lower spans. You know what I mean?
Let me revert my question is, what can we do for the next span that will make it better and more stable. Or maybe there's nothing, but it seems like we're always, not all.
Yeah, I think, obviously, well, Melissa's gonna update us on.
There you go. There's a good transition.
She'll make sure that, that we certainly have a bridge that, we can keep open as often as possible.
So our only
Way to
next
get off the
item
stage, Jim.
on the agenda is,
We call that passing the buck.
update on the Bay Crossing Tier 2 NEPA study. Melissa?
Well, thank you. For the record, Melissa Williams, Director of Planning and Program Development at MDTA. Let me say I have good news and good news, which is really nice to be able to say. So I'll start with the good news. That we are absolutely having public meetings.
Yeah.
Okay, they were supposed to be in September. We all know that in March, we had the Key Bridge collapse. We have the same MDTA staff, state agency staff, federal agency staff working on the Key Bridge and working on this, on the Bay Bridge NEPA. They're all, the NEPA people are the same. And, truth be told, we're all working a whole lot. So looking at the schedule, we were able to move the meetings from September to early December. And here's the other part of good news, without affecting the schedule, without affecting when the project will be done. So we gave ourselves and we gave the other agencies a little bit more time to get things ready for this next public meeting. And I don't want to say downtime, but everyone's been working very, very hard.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
Sure.
So we took a little bit more time and we will be coming out in early December. I will say on November 8th, we'll be announcing the dates, the times and the locations. And of course, as always, Melissa will be sending you an email to let you know personally that information so that you can share with your groups the dates, times and locations. As usual, we will have 2 in-person meetings and 1 virtual meeting, which will be recorded so you can watch the virtual anytime that you would like. And as I had said before, I was hoping that we would have had the meetings before this BRAG meeting so I could talk about those meetings and give you some updates, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm just going to reiterate that at those meetings, we will be showing actual alternatives. So we have moved beyond the point of corridors. We're no longer looking at a 2-mile swath or corridor. We now have actual alternatives. So we're going to be looking at number of lanes, where the crossings might be. It's exciting stuff. It's great to see it on paper and to start to see things developing. So I'm really excited to share that information with you. Like I said, most important, it does not change the schedule for the project. We will still be completing in the end of 2026. Just gave us a little bit more, dare I say, breathing time. There really wasn't a break. Everything's been moving quickly. I did also want to take a moment just to compliment Melissa and her group. Between spring and fall, now we're in fall, they've been to 20 separate events. Now, some of those events multiple times, such as the Queen Anne's County Fair, the Anne Arundel County Fair, that was several days that they were set up and meeting with people. They were very, very busy, met with a lot of people and really achieved our goal of just sharing with folks that we are looking at the Bay Bridge. We're not working in a vacuum, we're here. Check out our website, contact us if you have questions. And of course, if you want us to meet with any of your groups, come out and talk to smaller groups, we're always willing to do that as well. So Pat, you had a question for us about air quality?
Yes.
Yes, Pat had asked, the community is concerned with air quality and chemicals from standing traffic, and do we look at things like that? And the answer is yes, absolutely. We look at air quality, we look at air quality standards. I'm not going to go too deep into it. What I'm going to say is that in our draft environmental impact statement, that is where we do an actual air quality analysis. And we will be sharing all of that information with the public. And at your request, I'll be sure to bring that information to brief this group specifically. So it's coming. It's coming. I feel like I just did a little commercial for December. But like I said, November 8th, the dates will come out and it will be early December for that next round of meetings.
Good, thank you. Next we have is unfinished business. There's no unfinished business from the July meetings. So we'll move on to new business unless anybody has any objections. If I have anything unfinished. All right, new business is the Bay Bridge run. Our only item is the Bay Bridge run. James is going to give us an update. Some people are going to be running across the bridge. Who's not?
Good evening, I'm James Turner, Facility Administrator here at the Bay Bridge, and just wanted to give a quick PSA on the upcoming bridge run for this year. This year's bridge run, once again, will be hosted by Corrigan Sports, take place Sunday, November 10th. Coordination planning efforts are ongoing. We continue to work closely with the two counties, supporting agencies to help plan a safe event. Corrigan is projecting roughly 17,000 participants this year. And as of September 10th, there were 9,900 registered to run, which is slightly ahead for this time last year. Messaging will go out prior on our DMS boards and portable BMS signs to warn motorists of the event. And again, hopefully folks will take that into consideration, avoid the bridge on that Sunday. As in years past, we'll be closing the eastbound bridge on the night before to set up two-way. That will be established on the westbound bridge. We'll have 1 lane east, 2 lanes west, and could see potential delays in each direction. First wave of runners starts at 7 a.m., last wave at 9 a.m., and we hope to have the bridge reopened by noon. Again, this year at the finish area, there's a post-race celebration with live music, food, refreshments, which is open to runners, friends, and family, and it'll be located at the Chesapeake Bay Business Park. Looking forward to another fun and safe event, and for more information, please visit thebaybridgerun.com. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. New business. Pat, you had a question about the appointments. Well, address that. We don't really have any say over the appointments. Some of them are by the governor's office. The governor can pick and choose who he wants to remove, who he wants to replace, or renew for 3 more years. The commissioners of Queen Anne's County can get 2 or 3 spots, Jim?
2.
2 spots.
Yeah.
Anne Arundel gets 2.
Correct.
And
The governor gets the rest.
yeah, we're at the mercy of the governor, and each county picks who they want. And we don't really, this group doesn't have a say.
Chooses the person who's going to be asked to leave.
The governor's office does not reappoint them for another term.
It's up to them to request a reappointment.
So you're appointed for a 3-year term. And at the end of the 3-year term, the governor either renews your term or he replaces you.
If you reapply.
Yeah, you have to reapply.
You have to reapply, yes.
Got to get in that form.
If I could just say, it's in state law. So it's not something that any one governor determines or any one administration determines. It is in state law. This has always been the case that there are 2 representatives appointed by the Anne Arundel County Council, 2 representatives appointed by the Queen Anne's County Council, and then the other members are appointed by the governor. And what I will say is that, there are thousands of these boards and commissions throughout the state. And so in all of them, the governor appoints to almost all of them. And so it's not just membership changes, not just on this board, but on all of them, all around the states.
So those of us who have not been asked to leave the board or just not react, you could say it's because we neglected to ask the governor to reappoint us if we were appointed by the governor.
Well, you have to apply. You have to submit an application to be appointed. Everyone does, whether it's appointed or reappointed. There are lots of different reasons why someone may not be reappointed, but what I will say is that it is important to this administration and to the community that the membership of all boards and commissions throughout the state reflect the population, the demographics of the community, of the state. And so, and the communities that they represent. So it's not, it's not something that's happening to this board. This is just something that's happening all over. And as the demographics of our communities change, so will the demographics of our board membership.
So let me ask you, if your term is up in July, did you submit
Yes, you submitted.
when?
Can't tell you the date, but it was months ago.
Oh, I thought you sent an email out that you were terminated or going to be terminated on this. So you are re-upped?
I haven't sent an email, anyway. I reapplied, it went on the portal. Melissa told me I had to go on the portal and reapply. That's what I did.
Oh,
And I have not gotten an answer yet, so I'm told I stay until I get an answer.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
I've been on this board.
You know, I'll miss everybody, but I won't fly too long.
You can still come to the meetings.
I've never applied, so that's.
Well,
We
you
were
were
actually-
supposed to.
Unknown in the.
State law says you're
In the
supposed to.
community because of my work on the Broadneck Council and other boards, but I had not applied, so I was ignorant of the fact that you were supposed to.
Probably 12 years ago, you submitted some kind of an application.
All right. Anybody have anything else under new business to come before the meeting? All right, public comments. Do we have any public comments, Melissa?
No, Mr. Foster, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, good. Appreciate it.
Okay. No one's contacted me to comment.
All right, so our next meeting is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, January the 1st. I hope to see everybody here. 6 o'clock. Oh.
It's over.
By 6 o'clock, we should be okay.
This is a holiday, so we're looking to see who's the meeting, so Wednesday, January the 8th, is that okay with everybody? Was Pat,
I should be back.
Look, a good idea.
January 8th?
Should be back.
Haven't started on your calendar yet.
We'll put us down for the first date.
Will do.
All right, so we'll be here January the 8th,
Nice.
6 P.M., 2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, please have a motion to adjourn.
Function to return.
Seconds.
Move. Everybody have a nice Christmas. Hard to say that.
Thank you. Halloween, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas,
Right.
all the big holidays.
Oh, shoot.
That's, I mean,
That's okay.
What's that?
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's the
It's fine.
first day of the legislative session.
But this is in the evening.
But that's okay. We can can we have an hour-long meeting so we can back up there by 7?
What's there? It's-
It's up.
He doesn't, yeah, no, he doesn't.
It's but it's open.
This is all authority. Not a problem.
The meeting will be as long as people make it. It's early, I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
It's not bad.
I got to me.
I gotta keep telling people, I'm almost 70 years old, so just get in line.